you know the entire world is going to see everything you do. You know, unfortunately for me, I was on every episode and I did a lot of things. People have seen me on TikTok grow from like 0 followers to, you know, over 1 million, go on shows. And I think seeing the way that people have interacted with me, you know, I went to the gym yesterday, someone was like, bro, you motivate me so much. It's like, oh, like the thing that I never saw and me wanting to quit, I'm that thing now.
Hi everyone, I'm Erin Ashley Simon. I'm a broadcaster, entrepreneur, and a cultural disruptor who's redefining what it means to be a creator. Welcome to Real Gems. Today's episode focuses in on using creative channels to develop, showcase, and highlight your true self. Today's guest wore his heart on his sleeve during Netflix's Perfect Match. He is an artist and he also has his own podcast. Please welcome Dom Gabriel. Dom, how's it going?
Thank you for having me.
First of all, I have to make note. I don't know which camera we can show it into, but your nails, when we connected at the premiere for Across the Spider-Verse, I was just like, oh my gosh, these are so amazing.
Thank you. I try to coordinate my nails with every occasion, if it pans out, if it works. But
so I have a question that talks a little bit about your beginnings, but because we're on the note of nails, I really want to jump into this because I feel like for you, this is something that your fans are into. It's something that is a part of you and your identity. And I also like the fact that you're comfortable and okay with painting your nails. So talk to us a little bit about that.
Well, yeah, I've been painting my nails like pretty much my whole life since I was like 10 years old. I was always kind of like that like emo, skater, outsider, weirdo kid. And I remember seeing Jeff Hardy from WWE, and he had his nails painted, and that kind of gave me the confidence to kind of be like, oh, he's like the coolest like dude ever. Like, so I started like doing permanent marker, and then eventually I moved on to nail polish because I didn't know what nail polish was. I was 10 years old, and then there's my niece, and I would paint my niece's hands, and she would paint mine. And then she wanted designs, and I was like, the best I could do was a smiley face. So I guess we're gonna go to a salon, and that's when I started going to a salon, and we would get designs. And yeah, I've just been kind of escalating it ever since, and now I'm like getting the most intricate designs.
Well, no, I think that's really cool. It definitely adds a lot more personality. And I mean, not even just that, like even your jacket, and you said that you got into more of an emo style when you were younger. What influenced you to get into that kind of vibe for yourself?
I think it was just, you know, with my style and my fashion, my nails, everything, I just kind of always been somebody who I always did what I wanted to do. I was always like comfortable in myself. I was always like, and I'm stubborn as hell. Like, if anyone tells me like, oh, you can't do that, or, you know, guys don't dress like that, guys don't wear nail polish, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna do it even more now. Like, I'm gonna do my toes now. Like, so I've always been that person that was just kind of like went against the grain, and yeah, whatever I saw, I liked it. So it was like I liked, you know, emo music, punk music, so I started dressing punk. I like anime, Final Fantasy, so I incorporated a lot of like styles from that because it's a very androgynous style when it comes to like things like Final Fantasy or anime, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. And I started watching stuff like that, and I'd be like, oh, I think that's cool, and I would just wear it.
Were you like a Warped Tour person? Because I used to go to Warped Tour back in the day.
I always wanted to go, but I could never like afford to go. I was always that kid that like I would just like I would sneak into concerts and then I would get kicked out shortly afterwards.
Oh my god.
That was always me and my friends. But I was definitely a Warped Tour kid without actually going to Warped Tour.
Now I feel you. Me too. So it's funny how you talk about like you do whatever you want. You don't allow anyone to put you in a box. I'm kind of in that same wavelength. I used to skateboard, I listened to rock, you know, I loved all different kinds of genres of music. And of course, like people always assume like, oh, you love hip hop. And I'm like, I like all kinds of music. Yeah, of course I like hip hop, but all kinds. Cause like I was into like, I loved Paramore. Who else? There's a bunch. And I remember when I went to Warped Tour and it was so fascinating because it's like, I don't know, like I didn't really see too many people like myself there. But now I feel like the punk aesthetic is like growing a lot more and it's being embraced a lot more than maybe 10 years ago.
Oh, 100. I saw a picture of Drake wearing nail polish. Like that was, and I was getting tagged in it. And I was like, it was cool to see, but it was also like, where was this when I was in high school?
Yeah.
Where was this energy when I was in high school, you know? But yeah, it's definitely coming around. I think people are definitely becoming more open to, you know, different fashion senses, different styles. I think the world is just slowly becoming a more open place, which then leads to, you know, a lot of more open criticism and hate. But I think they both go hand in hand, you know, and hopefully one day everyone will just accept and
I would hope
like what
so.
they like.
I mean, I feel like it is getting to that point just because well, I feel like that openness is increasing, but then of course that openness also increases people's opinions and what they perceive the world to be versus what it actually is. And this is actually a good transition because when it comes to reality TV shows, not everything that's portrayed is what is actually like what actually happened. And so you have been on various different reality TV shows. And like you were saying, you're someone who likes to be themselves and just do what you want to do. But talk to us about that journey, because I feel like the personal journey that you had growing up, just being yourself, it must have been a very unique, I wouldn't say challenge, but it must have been a unique journey when you have millions of people who can then comment on you and your aesthetic and how you handle things on those reality programs.
Yeah, I think, you know, my journey was a very interesting, unique one because it was something I never aspired to do. Like, I'm not a big reality TV person. I never watched it. I didn't apply. I got asked, and I was kind of in a place in my life when I got asked to do it where it was during quarantine. I didn't have a lot going on. I got laid off. I got broken up with. I was kind of at this point of like, why not? You know, but the one thing I always stayed true to was like was like, if I do this, I'm never gonna do anything that, you know, my mom wouldn't be proud of, you know, or I'm not gonna do anything that my nieces and nephews are gonna see later on in life and be like, oh, my uncle's a dick. Like I was like, I'm just gonna portray who I am. I'm never gonna do anything like that. And I think almost looking at like hindsight of reality TV, I think because so many people go on it and they try, and everybody wants to have that moment and wants to be, there's so many dramatic moments.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm such an anti-dramatic person. So I think the thing was, it was somehow in like this weird reverse way, it became interesting to people to see me not give into the drama. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Like me kind of minding my own business and being like my own person kind of like set me kind of made me interesting. Me being kind of boring made me interesting, I think. So yeah, it was an interesting journey for sure, and I'm definitely a different person after the show for sure.
In what way do you feel like you're different?
I just feel like the shows, because there were two completely different shows. One was a competition show, one was a dating show, and I feel like from the competition show, I was somebody who I was very naive. You know, I play with my heart, and I think, you know, the person that I came out of that show was like learning. I almost like I try to take something from everything I do, and from the first show, I lost very early on. I got betrayed, and I think I translated that into sort of like how I operate in business now, where I'm not as naive. I'm gonna ask those questions, and I'm gonna do my due diligence. I'm not gonna trust so easily, and I think, you know, same thing with the dating show. I've always been someone who I'm in constant fight mode.
Yeah.
Always. Whenever I would get into like a breakup or anything in my real life, my first instinct is to run away. When you're on a dating show, there's nowhere to run. You're in a house. You have to deal with your emotions. So I think that forced me to finally deal with my emotions in relationships and confront them. And now, moving forward, it's like I think I'm just a better communicator, and I'm more in tune with my emotions, even more so than I was before.
Do you feel like it's, you know, being in front of the cameras and being forced to not have to run from it, do you feel like it helped you progress with tackling whatever, you know, internal demons or whatever feelings that you weren't able to cope with before? Did it feel like it forced you to, just because you're constantly filmed that entire experience?
Yeah, I think with an experience like that, it's like, you know, the entire world is going to see everything you do. And, you know, unfortunately for me, I was on every episode and I did a lot of things. So, you know, filming it was one thing I had to go through, and then watching me go through all that with the entire world's criticism is also something I had to go through. And I think it gave me the ability to grow a tougher skin and kind of, you know, kind of learn that everything is just momentary, you know, and you just gotta learn to laugh at yourself, not take yourself too seriously. And yeah, I just think reality TV can really. I don't think I'd do it again, but I think if you look at it through the right lens and you really take a look inwards at yourself on reality TV, I think you can really grow a lot as a person.
And also, I mean, one takeaway is that you can grow in terms of the opportunities and things that you cultivate after the shows air. And you are a multi hyphenate individual. You're a musician, fashion designer, artist, and now you are a podcaster. You have your own podcast. So now you know, I remember from our conversation, you said that this podcast is about relationships without the scandalous conversations. It's like these real and honest conversations. So what's it been like producing it and running your own podcast?
It's been difficult, to be honest. It's been sort of like, I'm sure, as you know, it's like everybody has a podcast nowadays. And
Yeah.
it's kind of finding your own lane and kind of finding your own sort of like energy, what you bring to the table, like what's your lane, how do you want to navigate this. So I think it took me a little bit to kind of figure it out. I think I am now, but the most important thing to me was, you know, after the show and after everything happened, I never felt safe on a podcast. Like, so I said no to a lot of podcasts, and when I got the opportunity to have my own, I made sure to make it my own goal is like, if I'm going to do this, the main thing is for everyone that comes on my show to know that they're comfortable and they're safe here. And, you know, I've had people on and I've seen the comments of people saying like, you know, this guest looks so much more comfortable here than they do, you know, on another podcast. And I think that's like the most important thing for me is like making the guests, making production, everyone just knows this is a fun, safe, wholesome place. So
I agree with that. I mean, that's something that I like to instill in all of my work is like, this is a safe zone. You know, we may talk about personal things, but just know that it's safe. Because I do understand, like, there are a lot of podcasts that have like gotcha moments. And for me, I never enjoyed those or liked those. I feel like the more that you make someone feel like they can be themselves and be comfortable and let down their guard, the better the material and the better the conversation is.
yeah, I think obviously, you know, clickbait is a thing.
Yeah.
But I think it gets to the point of like, there's so much clickbait, there's so many viral moments. It's like, where's the substance coming from? I think that's why I try to incorporate into all my endeavors. Really, is substance and relatability and comfort.
Yeah, I feel like more and more people want that because you're saying it's such a highly clickbait kind of environment on the internet right now.
Yeah, and I think, you know, also as influencers, I hate calling myself that, but this sort of industry that we're in, I think it's like, it's important to realize that like the people that consume our content are consuming it like regularly, like daily, you know. And for me, it's like, if someone's going to be watching me every day or watching me every week, I want them to know that they can come in and consume my content and feel safe and feel comfortable and know that if they've had a rough day, if they see me anywhere, they know like, okay, it's chill here, it's cool here, you know what I mean? This is peaceful.
Yeah. No, trust me, I love that too. And I also, for me, I always try to, how I portray myself online, it's going to be the same person that you meet.
Yeah.
Because I had those experiences where when people met me, they're like, oh, like how you are online, like, oh, you're exactly like that. And it's like, yeah, I don't want to portray anything other than myself because I want to be myself because I feel like it's just a happier route. And then two, like you're saying, whatever the content is, I want you to consume it and know like that's me at the end of the day.
Yeah. And yeah. I was gonna say something else, but I'm gonna leave it. I'm just
It's okay. Well, through the process, you talked about like not being as naive when, especially on the business front. You dropped a few original capsules. When you're going through the process of whether it's capsules or whether it is a nail polish line or anything like that, how do you determine whom you want to collaborate with?
I think it's just meeting them in person and seeing what their vision is and what their vibe is. For myself, at least, I learned again through business to you have to be humble, you have to stay grounded, but you also have to know your worth in a sense. And I think for myself, I said no to a lot of things because I knew my worth, and I'm like, I don't want your clothes. I don't want to do a shoot for your clothes. I want my own clothes. If you want to work with me, I want my name on the product, kind of deal. And it's like that's kind of how I've learned who to work with and who to navigate with, is who believes in me is who I work with. And if you believe in me to put my name on your product, or you believe in me enough to give me a nail polish colorway, then yeah, I want to work with you because you believe in me. I'm not just a billboard for you. You see a bigger picture here. So that's kind of how I navigate.
And speaking of nail polish, how did that experience come about for you to have your own? Was it own colorway?
Yeah, old colorway nail stickers. Yeah, it came about with me reaching out to the company, and it just started off small. Like, hey, I just want to meet. I really like their vibe, and their aesthetic is very similar to mine. And I just wanted to meet with them and see what we can do. And we had a lot of it. It took a long time for them to like believe in me. A lot of meetings, because they don't work with like any influencers. They only work with the owners and stuff like that. But they, after a few meetings, they were like, okay, we see the vision, and yeah, and I think that's how it came about. Was just me being persistent and showing them like, no, like trust me, and yeah, now I got my own colorway coming out, own collection, limited collection, and hopefully it does well, because it's kind of like you're betting on yourself almost. It's like, give me this, give me this quantity, give me this colorway. If I sell it out, if it does well, then we'll go from there. But you have to trust me. I'll make it happen. And then it's like, okay, well, you got it. And then it's like, shit.
It's like, now it's the real deal.
Yeah, it's like you really have to. I've learned like you have to bet on yourself if you want to make those big plays. And sometimes it may not work out, but if it does, it's a big win.
Yeah, absolutely. And through this entire experience, what do you feel like you've learned about yourself?
I don't know if I learned anything about myself per se, but I think I've come to realizations, I guess, of like I am kind of I'm a lot smarter than I give myself credit for. You know what I mean? I've always been that kid who've been like, oh, I'm a dumbass, and everyone told me I would never amount to anything, or I was always getting into trouble. And those were valid criticisms of me. I was a little shithead. I was not the sharpest tool in the shed, like by far. But I think, one thing I've always had is I've always believed in myself. And whether it was like this fake belief or placebo belief I had in myself, there was always that little thing there. And I think I had a great conversation with Leo Skepi, and he said to me, he was like, what that light that you have is there. That like shining light you have is there, but in order for you to realize it, you have to stack up the evidence, and once you look back at everything you've done, you'll finally see what everyone else sees in you. And I think through everything I've done and through doing the shows, I've been in LA for 3 months, and it's like podcast, clothing line, nail polish color. It's like, yeah, like I did that. And I can look back and see the evidence and be like, I learned about myself, like, you can do this, essentially. You're not a failure.
And I mean, and even if things don't always go right, it's okay. Like failure is part of the process too. You know, you're not gonna always get wins.
No, you're not always going to get wins all the time, but I think it's very important to believe in yourself and
Oh yeah,
to not stop.
yeah.
You know, and I think that's the thing is like I always wanted to stop. I always felt like an imposter. I always felt like I was supposed to be here. Like I'm literally like I'm somebody who, you know, like I met you on a red carpet for Spider-Man, the Spider-Man premiere,
Yeah.
right? Someplace I never thought I'd be there in my entire life. I was over the moon. That was the highlight of my life. After that, I took a $20 Uber that I could barely afford, and I slept on an air mattress in my friend's spare room. You know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
like crucial, like imposter syndrome if you ever witnessed that before. But it's like, and every day I'm thinking like, just stop, bro. Just stop. Like you're not built for this. You know what I'm saying? I see everyone around me. It's like I've been wearing the same boots for the past 3 months to every premiere, and it's like just stop. You're not cut out for this. But it's like the thing I learned about myself is like resilience. It's like I didn't stop. I never quit. You know what I mean? I'm finally seeing the evidence stack up, and I think that's the most important thing for anybody that is not only in, you know, our field, influencing, entertainment, creator. Um, I think anybody is like, just don't stop. I think everybody has imposter syndrome. I think a lot of people want to quit, want to stop, and I think like I was always like bullshit. Maybe quit, maybe give up sometimes. You know, maybe I've always like, you know, growing up, I've always been the person like I'll just stop. I've always been somebody who I would get to a point and be like, oh, it's not for me, and I'd stop. And I think now I've become that person, and people have seen me on TikTok grow from like 0 followers to, you know, over 1 million, go on shows, and I think seeing the way that people have interacted with me and seeing, you know, I went to the gym yesterday, someone was like, yo, bro, like bro, you motivate me so much. And it's like, oh, like the thing that I never saw and me wanting to quit, I'm that thing now.
Yeah.
I'm that person that never quit. All those videos I saw of people being like, I never quit, I'm like, I'm becoming the person that never quit. Granted, I'm still going home and sleeping on an air mattress still, but I'm not stopping.
Yeah.
You know? And I think that's important. I think that's also important for people. Sorry, I'm talking so much, by the way.
No, I love it. I love it. Go ahead.
And I think that's also important for a lot of people watching this right now that, you know, looking at somebody in my position and maybe see my social media and see, oh, he's doing amazing things, he's living up. It's like, no, I'm still going home and sleeping on an air mattress. I wake up and that shit is deflated. Like that I rolled out of bed, I hit my elbow on the hardwood floor. I was like, damn, you know? But I'm not stopping. That hasn't prevented me from keeping going and pursuing my dreams, and I think that's important for people to hear. It's like, even though you see people doing these things, it's like behind the scenes it's not always, you know, luxurious. Sometimes it is,
Yeah.
but a lot of times it's like, no, I'm still grinding it out just like anybody else.
Yeah. Social media is just the highlights, you know, it doesn't really show always the other side of things. And that's also why I wanted to start this podcast, because I wanted to have real conversations with other creators and influencers, because, you know, there's misconceptions that I feel that surround what we do. And it's just letting people know, like, hey, if you want to do it, you can do it. But like, it's not always high moments. There's low moments. There's even moments where we're like, oh, I want to give up. Like, it's not this straight trajectory. But that's why having these conversations hopefully will help people decide, like, is this really what you want to do? Or is it, you know, you're influenced by what you see and the outcomes that you want versus you actually wanting to do it?
Yeah, and I think that's exactly what you said. Everyone's seeing highlights. And I'm very open online when I'm streaming, when I'm doing anything. I tell people, I'm like, today sucks. Today really sucks. Like, today is a terrible day for me, you know? Just mentally, physically, emotionally, I'm down. And people will come and be like, why don't you just go home and get a real job? And I'm like no. Like, no. And it's like, and I think that, again, that's important for people to see. It's like people telling you, like, just stop, give up, get a real job, and you say no, and then you come back twice as hard. And I think that goes for anything. It goes for any like sports. You know, if you don't win a season or you don't win a game, what do? You go home, you practice if you want to get better. You give up, you're never going to win that championship.
No.
So I think that's important for people to see. You gotta see people be resilient and struggle and show the real side of things.
And during that experience of like when you're opening up and you're sharing these moments, why is it so important for you to do so? Like I know you tapped on it a little bit, but I'm curious because I know a lot. Some people are afraid to open up because of the criticism that they may encounter because of the internet. But it seems like for you, sharing more of who you are seems so important when it comes to your creation as well as your overall journey.
I think I border this line of like ADHD oversharing and also just like and also just not. Can I cuss on here?
Yeah, go ahead.
Not giving a fuck. Like I've always been like I just don't give a fuck what anyone thinks of me. I don't give a fuck about people being like their perception of me, putting me on a pedestal or putting me or like I want to look like I'm the shit. Like I'm not the shit. I'm just me. I'm just Dom. I have shitty days, and I'll come online and then I'll tell you about my shitty day. If I have a great day, then I'll tell you like today was a dope ass fucking day, and the next day I'd be like, nah, it was okay, it was shit. Like there's no reason for me to not share that with people. I wouldn't be here without people following me and supporting me, and you know what I mean. Anyone in our field, we wouldn't be here without the people pressing that follow button and wanting to see our journey and supporting us. So I like to be like grateful for them and let them know like today's not a good day, and my followers and I don't even like to call them followers, but people that support me would be like, "That stuff's just gonna get better." And then when I tell them like, "Oh, I had a dope day," they're like, "Yeah," like and they're
it's like a win for everybody.
It's like a win for because I've always been open, and I think that's kind of like not only helped me with my social anxiety, my mental health, like building this sort of community that I have. Like it's insane how social media can connect, build a community together. It's like I used to have these like gym lives streams that I would do with like 5 people in them. And I would just talk to these 5 people just late night in the gym, and they still watch my streams to this day.
Wow.
You know what I mean? When I had like 1,000 followers, and now there's like hundreds and thousands of people that watch they're still there every day. I release my clothing line, they buy it. They have like a Discord where they talk to people. They built a Discord where people can go if they feel unsafe. They can go to my Discord and they can talk about their mental health. And there's like a mental health check-in little box that people can go to. It's like, it's crazy how from me being open and me being vulnerable and sharing myself has been able to build this little Discord, this little community now that people feel safe and feel a part of. When I go live, people come in, they're like, "Thank God you're live." Like, I feel so safe here, and I think that's a beautiful thing from being vulnerable. And one thing that I've always lived by is when you're silent, you deny others the benefit of knowing that they're not alone. So even when you may think like this is such a niche thing to be upset about, or this is such a, I feel this way, or I feel sad today, or this makes me feel, depressed, or whatever it is, when you say that, you open that up, who cares? There might be one other person, 10 other people that like, I feel the exact same way. Thank you for validating that, like, I'm not alone in this. Because it's like, say you're in a forest, right? And you're by yourself in this forest and you're lost. You're terrified, right? I'm in this forest alone, I'm lost. But you might feel a little bit better if you know that there's 20 other people also in the forest that are also just wandering around lost. You'd be like, okay, I just got stumbled upon. I know there's other people in here that feel this way, that feel unsafe. I just got stumbled upon them. You feel a little bit better going through that forest, knowing that there's other people in there that are also just lost and chaotic. But I think it's been super important. I think I've built a great community. I think it's helped not only me, but more importantly, it's helped others by me being vulnerable and open.
I agree.
Sorry I'm talking so much. I'm sorry
no, don't apologize.
Sorry,
this is great. You make my job easier talking more, because when it's people who don't talk as much, I'm like, okay, what's next, But no, I agree. Because I decided to be a little more vulnerable with my audience, I would say, crazy enough, in 2020. Because, it was around that time where, like, nothing was okay. So I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm okay. But it was no, it was quite freeing for me. And like you were saying, it opened up the doors for other people to see that they're not alone, but then also see that, like, yeah, even though I'm successful, I struggle with things just like everyone else. I struggle with mental health. I struggle with other things, right? Like, I even had to tell my supporters that for this year, I said, I'm staying off of Twitter more. This is going to impact my following, but like, I need to protect my mental health because this platform is really fucking it up. But it was just the support that people gave because I've been so honest about that journey. They're just like, do what you need to do. We're still going to be here. We're still going to support you. And that felt really, really great, knowing that, you know, there's such a great support of people who, even though I may not know them, that they appreciated my honesty and they appreciated my openness and my vulnerability. And like you were saying, it helped them. And then later on, they even told me that, like, they were so appreciative of, like, even during the quarantine time, they were like, I felt like I was alone, but like when you did your lives, when you did your streams, I did not feel alone because I felt like I was part of something. So I 100% agree. But I'm not going to lie. It's challenging sometimes to be vulnerable, and it's challenging sometimes to open up about certain things. So I also think that some people sometimes take vulnerability and use it as a weapon against you. And that's something I'm trying to navigate, where it's like, okay, when do I want to be open? When do I not? And then there's just certain things that I keep for myself. So like, for example, like relationships, I keep for myself.
Yeah.
So I don't tell people publicly on social media if I'm in a relationship. My close friends will know, but I just won't tell them because I feel like there's just certain things I want to keep for myself. Do you ever, you know, with your vulnerability, you say that you may overshare, but do you ever like keep certain things for yourself that you're like, I don't want to tell the whole world about this?
I think like my audience is like, yeah, he's pretty fucking open. But I think for me, it's like the only thing that I kind of keep away from my audience is like my family. I think like, you know, that's where things get, you know, like, because people can flip on you like that. I remember after the show, you know, there was a lot of drama and someone said something about me and like everything kind of flipped for like, you know, half a day. Everything flipped. And my mom called me crying because people were sending her messages because they found out who she was. And I think that's something where like, luckily everything got, you know, retracted and things kind of worked out. And people were like, oh, no, Dom wasn't in the wrong. Dom's still cool. Guys. It was like, oh, sorry, Mama Dom. But that's something that I've learned to kind of keep private is like, not only like my mom and my little brother, but especially like my younger cousins and my niece and my nephew. And I think that's something that I try to like, unless I explain to them, unless you're okay with it, like, you know, they'll be like, why don't you post it? And I'm like, because I don't want anyone to ever message my niece anything inappropriate or anything. So it's like I keep that away from them. But when it comes to myself, like I just like, it's like you said, like people can use your vulnerability as a weakness. You ever watch like 8 Mile? Yes. You know, like the final battle when he has to like, for the first time, he has to go first. Yeah. What does he do for like 3 minutes? He just rips on himself. And then the other person can't say shit, can't diss him. So I think for me, it was like, if I just lay it all out, no one can ever make fun of me. You know what I mean? No one can ever say anything. It's like, I cried on my dating show and everyone's like, oh, he's a crybaby. He cries over this, he cries over that. I dropped a clothing collection called Crybaby. Sold out sizes, whatever. It's like, okay, now what? What else? You paint your nails, like, you're this, you're that. Drop the nail polish line. All right, cool. Now, you know what I mean? It's like, It's like I always feel like if I take my vulnerability and I use it, I weaponize it before you could weaponize it. Now what? You know what I mean? That's always, now what? Okay. It's like, you're a cry. I got a tattooed on my neck. Okay, cool. Where do we go from here? Just like, I've always just used that. It's like I always beat them to the punch before they can ever say anything.
Yeah. I remember, because there was this one time on social media and I said something. It was not out of pocket. It's, the one thing I realized is social media has a way of individuals on the platform, they have a way of taking what you say, but projecting what they feel into what you said, even though what you say could be completely fine.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing wrong with it, and then they take it out of context. And I remember I said something about how, like, content creation, how there's some content creators that are starting to go to universities and teach it, and I said, hey, it's now becoming, like, more people are viewing it as a legitimate career. And there were several creators that got upset that I said that. But when I said that, I was like, I'm not dissing your career, but there's studies that show that 90% of creators, it's not a career for them. Most creators do not make a salary from it.
Yeah.
It's not legitimized as a career. Like, you can't say, like, oh, I'm going to go to school or I'm going to do this to become a content creator. Like, there's no pathway for it.
Yeah.
And then when I explained it, even with the stats, you know, some of them were still upset just because of that word legitimate. And I told them, I was like, I'm not going to be responsible for your feelings. Like, I handle everything with care. After that, and I explained it, which I didn't have to. After that, that's kind of on you.
Yeah.
And even they were still mad. And so that's when I got to the realization that, like you said, I'm going to be open. I'm going to be myself. I'm going to weaponize, you know, whatever they try to use. And then after that, it's just like, if you're mad, that's kind of on you. I'm just not going to be responsible for those feelings.
Yeah. And honestly, it's either the one thing that they, like, when you don't give into it or you, like, lean into it, they either, like, end up, like, respecting it or it just nullifies them completely. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where it's like, if anyone were to say anything, like, I've had trolls come at me and I'm like, they're like, oh, like, you suck. You're the worst person ever. You're so cringe. I'm like, nah, you right. Nah, that's facts. Like, I'm like, nah, you right, bro. Like, you know, people have daily affirmations. I have daily insults. There's nothing I've said. Like, you want to go through what I say to myself in the mirror in the morning time? And they're like, whoa, like, all right, you kind of cool. You all right, bro? Like, so it's like, I always feel like, you know, words, at the end of the day, words and what people say, it's like the people that love me, the people that I surround myself with, my friends that I've known my entire life, my family know the person I am. Mm-hmm. And that's, to me, that's what matters to me most at the end of the day, is the people that I love, the people that I surround around me, what their opinions are of me. And anybody else, it's like, I'm not going to take time out of my day to change how you feel today. Yeah. I'm not going to do that. I'd rather spend that time, you know, that I would use trying to convince the trolls that I'm, you know, a cool person or something like that. I'd rather use that time to check in on my grandma or check in on my little brother or hang out and have a good time with my friends. So I think, and another thing about influence, like, there was this thing, I had this thing where, like, you can have a 1,000 great comments, but you always focus on that one bad one, right? And it took me a lot of, like, rewiring. And now I'm like, I'm only going to respond and show love to the people that, like, show love.
Yeah.
Because that's what's important at the end of the day. Because if you show people, like, I don't care about the bad, like, I'm not going to respond to the bad stuff, I'm just going to respond to love. It that also nullifies the trolls. Where, like, this guy never responds to any hate. He's never why am I spending my days attacking this man? He responds to everything but mine. It just nullifies it, you know? It's like playing chess almost.
Yeah. I'm at that point too where I'm like, whatever. They'll be like, oh, you're such like that's kind of like you. Or like, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
If that's how you feel, okay. Like,
yeah.
I'm not gonna sit here and waste energy, because I'd rather spend energy on people that I love and projects that I love and just things that uplift myself and everyone around me. And speaking of that, what other projects do you have coming up that you would like the listeners to know about?
You know, I have the clothing collection that's out now with Peace Collective called Crybaby, nail polish line, nail polish color, maybe specific, coming soon. Obviously my podcast, but I think everything that I'm working towards is music. I think right now what I'm doing is, like, I'm trying to take all the eyes that I have on me from after the show and being in LA and just capitalize on these opportunities. Like, with my clothing line, we're giving a percentage to CAMH, which is a Center for Addiction and Mental Health back in Canada. And I'm donating 10% of my proceeds to women's shelters across Canada, specifically Sistering, because my mom used to work at a shelter when I was a kid. And any deals that I do, I always give back to a women's shelter back in where I live, because that's so important to me, and I understand how underfunded they are. But once I sort of establish these things, I want to just go back to making music and touring and kind of get back to my passion and what really makes me happy, because I feel like I've done a lot of like, which isn't a bad thing, but it's like I've done a lot of like, how do I give back? How do I provide? Because, you know, the people that follow me and support me have done so much for me. It's like I want to give back to them, give back to charities that mean a lot to me, use my platform to do some good. And it's been like, LA is just draining the hell out of me.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just like, I'm gonna be real. It's like I don't know how everybody does it. I'm good off that. So I'm just here to just kind of like, I want to get this stuff done, lock this stuff down, and future projects is like, I just want to get back to the music. I want to get back in the studio with my band. I want to tour and just kind of go back to just being a enigma. Just just, you know what I mean? Like Lenny Kravitz, just like pop up every once in a while.
Yeah.
But I just want to make music.
I feel you. Yeah, LA is definitely, it's a different energy for sure. I'm from the East Coast, so when I came here, I was like, oof, this is a hard adjustment. They usually say it takes over a year to like actually get adjusted to LA.
Yeah, but then I learned, it's like, I don't think, this sounds like I'm hating LA. Like, I don't hate LA. I don't, like, I don't hate LA. I don't hate the West Coast. I don't hate California. I'm such a, I'm such an introvert, and I'm such a homebody.
Me too.
Like, contrary to belief, but I really am. Like, I don't like going to events. Like, I don't like going to parties. I don't like networking. I don't like any of that stuff. I'm like, so it's like my social battery has just been at like critical red level for like the past like 2 months, and it's like I'm just ready to kind of just, you know, have more me time, I think. So yeah, in terms of future projects, I think it's like, yeah, the music is what I'm most excited for people to hear, the new music.
Oh, we're looking forward to as well. And I feel you on the introvert. I tell them every time we're done filming, I go home. I don't talk to anyone. I literally just sit on my couch and binge watch a show that doesn't require that much mental power.
Yeah.
That's like my way of like recharging myself.
Yeah. My best friends, they call it Showtime Dom. Like whenever I'm like out,
Yeah.
because they know like I go out and it's like because like I'm an introvert, but it's like I can turn it on. I could be myself, and I could, you know, not be a total drag at a party. Walk around and be like, you know, everyone suffer. Like I could turn it on and turn on my social battery. They call it Showtime Dom, and I was messaging my best friend yesterday, and he's like, "How's Showtime Dom doing?" I'm like, "He's working OT, man. He's working warehouse hours, like, because I used to work like 20-hour shifts back in the day in a warehouse. He's like, he's working warehouse hours. He's tired. He's like, you go out to these parties and you go home and you just cry." And I'm like, yep. Go out, socialize, go on my air mattress, and I just start humming at the ceiling, like, just happy that the day is over.
No, I feel you. But that shows that there's a lot of introverts in the industry. I think a lot of people don't realize that. And so you gave a lot of gems today. You gave a lot of just thought-provoking quotes and perspectives. For those who are tuning in, what is that one advice that you hope that they would take away from today's episode? What is that one real gem that you would like to drop?
Ooh, the one real gem? I feel like I always say, I have like a bunch of like things I learned through mental health. I mean, through therapy and my mental health. Like I always say, like, you know, it's okay to not be okay.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I always say happiness is not a destination. You know, it's just a feeling like everything else. But I think the important thing is, like, if I had to give advice to anyone, I think the thing that I've learned so much, like we were talking about before, and I realized about myself, is just like, you have to believe in yourself more than anyone else does, you know? And I think it's hard to do that. I think we're in such a place where we rely so much on so many other people's opinions of us, and I think like we rely so much, even like as an influencer getting brand deals, it's like that's only because of other people's opinions of us.
Yeah.
We post a picture, we need engagement in order to drive up our stock. That's other people's opinions of us. You know what I mean? And I think it's hard to rewire that and to realize that your opinion is more important than others. And I think that's what gives you, or at least for me, I think that's what's kind of given me the edge and kind of like this sort of power. I feel like where like I came from. I don't care if I lose all my followers tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like that's fine. I am completely fine going back to the warehouse and working from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m., working out from 4 to 6, going home and watching anime. I am totally fine with that. But as long as I have this platform, I realize like I felt this imposter syndrome, and I'm like, well, I can't do that. I'm here now. So I got to make something happen. But I'm fine going back to that. I'm not scared to go back to that. And I think having that power, it gives you this sense of relief, like in anything. Of when like I'm not afraid to fail. I'm not afraid to go back to rock bottom. I've already felt what that felt like. It's not that bad. It might actually have some more pros than the position that I'm in right now. There's a lot more stability in not having anything, you know? So it's like I'm fine going back to that. And I think because of that, I believe in myself so much, and what I believe in means so much to me that I'm not going to let anybody else's opinions of me deter me from what I'm doing. And I think that's important. That's a long gem to put on people, but I think it's an important one to realize, is that what you have to realize what you stand for, and be firm on that and stand on that and believe on that. And there was I got this tattooed on me after the mole because I was reading this thing. It was the episode that I got eliminated on, and in the mission there was a quote that said, "Integrity will be rewarded." And I got that tattooed on me, and I didn't even believe at the time. I was like, whatever, it didn't be rewarded. But it's like after everything I've been through with the reality shows, everything, it's like I kept my integrity. I did things how I wanted to do it. Mm-hmm. Like how Miles says, like, nah, I'm gonna do my own thing. I did my own thing. I stood my ground, and now I'm seeing the results of that slowly but surely, and I think that's very important.
Well, thank you for that, and thank you for coming on today's show. So where can everyone find you on social media?
You can find me at Don't Call Dom on Instagram, TikTok, and follow my band, Don't Call Band, on Instagram, and Don't Call one word on all platforms. And also check out my podcast, Dom Meets World, available everywhere in the Past Your Bedtime YouTube channel.
Dom, thank you so much for joining us today. Really appreciate it.
No, thank you so much.
And thank you to all of the viewers for tuning in. Let us know, what was your favorite real gem from today's episode? Drop it in the comments section. Also, make sure you like, follow, and subscribe to Real Gems with Erin. We have much, much more in store coming up. If you enjoyed today's guest, well, stay tuned for the next one. Until then, my name is Erin Ashley Simon. See you, everyone.